Hi everybody, welcome to Arduino Connections, lessons 6 through 9. This is a continuation of what we've covered already in the class. I'm going to let you know the LCD one is going to be a little more complicated, but we'll worry about that when we get to it. Alright, let's get started. So lesson 6 was our serial monitor command. For this you're going to need the Arduino, a breadboard, the jumper wire, a 10K ohm resistor, and the photo resistor. So first you need to find the photo resistor in your kit. It looks like this, you can see on screen. And there is no long pin or short pin, they're both the exact same length. This device is kind of flow agnostic in a way, meaning that we don't actually have to worry about making sure that short pin is going to ground. We're actually deciding, much like with the button, how this goes into our wiring diagram. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to plug your photoresistor into the breadboard. Remember that on the breadboard things are horizontal here, so my recommendation would be plug it into like 10 and 11. You can see I did 9 and 11. However you want to do that. If you want to stretch this from 5 all the way down to 10, go for it. Up to you. Next, you're going to want to connect a wire from 5 volt to one end of the photoresistor. So you can see I'm going from 5 volt here, and I'm jumping it over into that line 9 here, connecting it into the photoresistor. Next, you're going to connect a 10K ohm resistor from the open end of the photoresistor to another section of the breadboard, much like we did with the button itself. So here you can see I have my photoresistor on line 11, and my 10K ohm resistor is plugged in to the spot next to it, and I'm jumping that down into line 18 on the breadboard. And that was it. Super easy. Oh, actually, no, it wasn't. Just kidding. Also connect your ground wire to the end of the resistor. That's all you had to do. Now it's over. Okay, next is lesson 7, our DHT sensor. This is going to be a fairly straightforward setup. You can use the breadboard, or you can use another type of wire that has kind of the open end, so you can plug it straight in. You are going to need your DHT sensor. That's a DHT 11 that comes in this kit, your jumper wires, breadboard, and the Arduino. So first off, you need to plug the DHT into the breadboard. Now, if you're using a different kit than the one that was provided for the class, or you have your own sensor, you're going to want to check what it's labeled on here. In this case, on our sensor, it's labeled plus, minus, and then our signal pin. So that first pin is plus, minus, signal pin, and I have that being plugged into line 20, 21, and 22 here. And sometimes you'll find different DHT sensors where it goes minus, signal plus, or plus, signal minus, or signal minus plus. You know, they vary it however, or whatever sensor you got. First, we're going to need to plug in the 5 volt, and we need to jump that to line 20, which is going to go into our positive end. Then we need to connect ground here over into line 21. That's going to go into our negative end, or the second pin on the DHT sensor. And then we need to connect pin 2 to our signal pin. So you can see I'm jumping from 2 over into line 23 here, and that's connecting into our signal pin. That's all you need to do for the DHT sensor. Really straightforward. Okay, LCD display. Good luck. I'm going to walk you through kind of setting up the initial, and then I'm going to show you the actual wiring diagram that we'll use for it. It's a lot cleaner, and you'll understand why as you build yours out. So, first off, you need to see your LCD has these pins up here. VSS, VDD, VDO, and these all correspond to the pin that's plugged into them that goes underneath. So we're going to plug that into the breadboard, and you're going to want to remember that you want to bring it as close to the edge as you can on those horizontal pins when you plug it in, because we need to be able to connect into those horizontal pins. So first, we're going to be using the vertical pins, or the vertical line on our breadboard here. And we're going to use white is going to be representative of our power. So I plugged 5 volt into power here. Then you can see I've plugged our ground which we're going to use as black for this one. So black is going into our ground. And now these are 5 volt all the way down and ground all the way down. Next, you're going to want to find your potentiometer. Okay, the potentiometer is essentially a 10K ohm resistor, but it's variable. It goes from 0 to 10K. In ours, it's a little bit different. So it has a pin here. If you're watching my mouse cursor on screen. So we have one pin here, and then one pin up here. Traditionally, this pin is located down here to make it easier, but this one, they did it like this. I don't know why. Just fun, different ways manufacturers do stuff. Okay, so you can see here I have a ground wire being plugged into my first pin of the potentiometer. And then I'm making sure that in this case, since our third pin, our middle pin of the potentiometer is on the opposite side, that that middle pin is being plugged into VO, right? So VO is running and connecting to the potentiometer. Here you can see what I meant by connecting the LCD display on that, what would be, column A of our breadboard. So column A has that, and then all of these run horizontal this way. So VO is being plugged into the middle pin of the potentiometer, and then one end of the potentiometer is ground, and the other end of the potentiometer right here is going to be going into our 5 volt row here. Okay, so ground, 5 volt, middle pin is connecting to VO right there. Next, you're going to want to connect the first pin, which I believe was VCC of your LCD display. VCC needs to jump over into the ground line that we've made. And then I believe that's VDD right there. It's going to connect to your 5 volt. Let's make sure, let me jump back here to see. I'm sorry, VSS and VDD. Okay, so VSS here goes into your ground. VDD is going to go into your 5 volt. Now that we have kind of those easily connected, you can understand why this is going to be a tangled mess. Let's talk about how this wiring diagram is going to work and how you read these. So we know our 5 volt and our ground is going to be set up here. So 5 volt is running into here, right, like we did. Our ground is running into here. Here you can see they have things color-coded. So in our case, we were using white and black. They're using red and black. So black, here on the potentiometer, shows that it's connecting here. Red is connecting here, like we did with ours. Our 5 volts connecting to the other end of the potentiometer. Here we can see our black is being connected into that pin 1 of our LCD. And our 5 volt is in pin 2. And then our pin 3, we see we have that connected to the potentiometer there. So what you're going to now need to do is follow this and know that you need to take a wire and run that wire from line 12 that we can see here. Trace that over. And that's going to go into pin 4 of the LCD display. Accidentally clicked. So pin 4 of your LCD display there. Right? And then if we go to pin 5, we can see 5 is running up to here, and that's connecting over to ground here. So you take a ground wire, and you plug the 5th pin of the LCD into ground. Pin 6, you can see here, trace that, you're running into line 11, right there. And then we can start on this end over here. So over here, ground. Here is where we would connect our resistor. Okay, so then we go here. So our resistor jumps from 5 volt onto the breadboard here, and then we have a short little connection here. This we know it's a 220 ohm resistor based off of the color coding. Now I know we haven't had this lesson yet. You can actually find out what the value of a resistor is based off of the colored bands on here. So red is 2, then 2, and then multiply that by 10, because brown is a multiplier of 10, and gold is just a tolerance. You don't have to worry about that. So we know it'd be 22 times 10, which makes it 220 ohm. And we can see here, we have our different ones. So this pin, third to the right, connects over to 2. This will be 3, 4, and 5. We can trace those over. That's how you read an Arduino schematic. I know the LCD is going to be a little more complicated with it. That's okay. It's a good way to start learning how to do this. And you can see why we didn't do our normal picture method, because this is kind of the rat's nest you're going to get here in Arduino. So our potentiometer and then all these crazy wires here sticking up. Once you've loaded up the code for using your LCD display, you have to turn this potentiometer back and forth so you get it in just the right spot, and you'll see what you've written on your screen. Okay, that was pretty confusing. I understand that. It's okay. Lesson 9, really easy. So we take what we've already done with our LCD display, and we're just adding in a DHT sensor now, right? So in this case, you can see it's minus signal plus. Ours was plus minus signal, okay? So plus would go 5 volt, minus goes ground. The signal, you're just connecting into A0 like we did in our code for that. Okay, so it's a lot easier if you do the DHT11, this last one, after you've built out your LCD display here. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them on the comment section in this YouTube video, or if you're accessing this video in Classroom, please feel free to leave those in Classroom as well. And hey, thanks for watching.